Welcome back to the Crypto Clown World channel. I am your host with the honks, Jason Bruce, and we're going to get honking on in to this strong looking picture for the monthly close for Bitcoin. How about that? We're looking really good here, okay? We closed with a couple bullish candles over the last couple months. We're well above the middle Bollinger Band and the white line here, which is your 200 weekly moving average. And with the price well above that right now, it's kind of battling this upper Bollinger Band, okay, on the monthly time frame. And we're on Bitstamp right now because it gives us a little more history. All right, I'll put the guns away. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare anybody. So this picture is pretty wild, and I want to break down a few things here because there is actually some things that we have to worry about, especially with BlackRock in the mix. So you're probably wondering, why does this look like a giant head and shoulders pattern? Well, I'll kind of break that down here. So in terms of this price action, we're in an obvious uptrend, but the difference with this last dip that FTX created was that it moved us under this significant resistance line here, this spider line, this long-term trend line support turn resistance, okay? We're still below that right now, all right? And that extends all the way back to this double bottom wick in the double bottom scenario in 2015. So with that in mind, we have to heed this support turn resistance. So we're below it right now, and it's projecting out, like, say this was anomalous, right? Which it kind of was. A lot of people were thinking that we were going to go much higher from here, and it dumped down. So let's say that was anomalous, and this whole thing is anomalous. Well, as we come back up here over the next couple months, you could see the confluence here into next February would take us up to this resistance line and this sort of a ascending type of a wedge pattern that we were potentially forming there before we broke down. So this is just absolutely critical resistance, and you can see here too, when we're coming up to this level, we would be coming up pretty close to where the 786 is at. All right, right around that 50k level that we've been talking about ad nauseum. So this is going to be extremely important. A lot of confluence, and early next year it may not be a bad zone to take some profits. Okay, so a few other things to take note of here if we just kind of look historically, right? If we look at our fibs, we're looking at a fib extension, and if you go back to the 2015 bottom, this rally extended all the way almost up to the 2.618 extension. Okay, we blew through the 1.618. This last rally that we had, it just breached the 1.618 extension. So the question is, with diminishing returns, does the fib provide that? Do we come up to that 1.618 around $169,000? Or potentially, do we get rejected a little bit lower than that in the trend, maybe around 120 in the middle of 26? Or if we were to even extend that out, let's say we bottom at the end of 25. Yeah, you're still looking at around 120. So there's a little bit of a range there, maybe 120 to 170,000 dollars. And this is like a really, really realistic picture. This isn't like, oh, this potential technical analysis uh, might have a chance to play out. This is like the probability here because this is where all the major confluence is at. Okay, so we'll likely be somewhere in that range, 120 to 170. Could extend up, you know, to that area, that 170 area. If something really crazy happens, rampant inflation or money printing, you know, maybe we reach a previous 2.618, that would be around 386,000. Uh, that would be just a massively bullish scenario. So this monthly picture is starting to crystallize a little bit. You know, we're definitely showing that we're creating an uptrend here. So, you know, the RSI is in a position of strength that, you know, negotiated the 50 level after some consolidation here in this area, and it's now sitting right around the 60 level. And, you know, usually when we have these rallies, if it's a hard, you know, strong rally like we've seen at the top of these bull markets, we're well into the overbought territory with the RSI. But if it's these relief rallies like we saw before, this is going to be like a resistance line that we have right here, right? So, you know, potentially we have a line in the sand here on the RSI that we would have to negotiate. So I'm going to keep that line there. We'll keep an eye on that. The stochastics, obviously in a position of strength, we're well above the 80 level, and price action's pretty green. So with that in mind, I'm just going to flip over to the daily view so that we can see kind of how that's affecting the current price action. And Bitcoin currently is bumping up against the top of this channel that we've been in since the beginning of November. Maybe even you could say going back to the end of October. So it's a pretty mature channel that Bitcoin is in. And potentially we're looking at, you know, a breakout scenario here. The price action has been bumping up against this resistance line, wicking above. And potentially this has formed kind of an inverse head and shoulders type of a thing, or, you know, triple bottom scenario, or just, you know, you could even just call it higher lows and higher highs in terms of simple support and resistance. So I think this looks pretty good right now given the momentum on the stochastics, but we do have to be pretty careful just in terms of like this line here. More than likely you'll see us bump up here, and that'd probably be where this current move would end. But when you look at like just this flag that was breaking out here, that measured move would take us up to about 40,000. Measured move on this pattern, if it's a quote-unquote inverse head and shoulders, would take us up to about 41.9, close to 42k. And this larger pattern, you know, if you were to take the measurement of the flagpole, that's taking us up to this area, that 48, 51, 54,000 that I was talking about, where we may be running into that long-term resistance line. So some pretty important levels there. And, you know, to the downside, your significant support is the 200 daily and 200 weekly moving averages around 29,000. Point of control here locally around 25. And then if we continue to zoom out here, the point of control does take us back down to 19.3, which will be an area of interest for me, around 20,000 to 19.3. There is a CME gap at 20,000. We may wick below that. And if we're heavily rejected at that 50k area, that could be where they send it in order to freak people out the most. So I will continue to keep an eye on that potential scenario. For right now, Bitcoin's looking strong. So, you know, we're negotiating this resistance level right here. And, you know, the idea would be the next level would take us into the golden pocket. So let's see what happens. I'm going to jump over to the Ethereum picture. It did have a strong move up against Bitcoin, but it has actually retraced here on the 4-hour chart just recently. So, you know, the ETH BTC kind of determines the strength of the altcoins. So let's swing over to the monthly and see what that picture might be looking like. I think you're seeing just like a little bit of consolidation that's coming in on the smaller time frames. It's maybe printing that red candle right now. This to me was likely a reversal for the Ethereum BTC pair. There may be some consolidation in the short term, however, as it is running up against the 200 weekly moving average. We haven't been significantly below that since its actual inception here for the pair back in June of 19. We did see some extensive consolidation below that. If you take a look at this consolidation, this looks eerily like the consolidation that we're seeing for Bitcoin. Look at that. It's almost the exact same pattern, right? So if we take a look here, and I do have all these levels outlined here because there is going to be significant resistance zones, and there's going to be a lot of chop once we get up into this area. So I'm just using it for my reference to see how the pair is moving, but there is a lot of chop in this area. Okay, so the idea being, if you get momentum above the 200 weekly, you're going to move up pretty quickly to the 200 daily in the middle Bollinger Band on this monthly. And the reason I believe that's likely, it is based on hidden bullish divergence. Okay. Where you can see this wick down here, this tweezer bottom. Significantly higher on the RSI, but lower in price action than where we closed the month here. So, before when we closed this last time, when the RSI came down, that was not divergent. Now we've come down on the monthly and we've closed divergent. And with very oversold stochastics attempting to flip bullish with the blue above the red, the likelihood is that we've bottomed here. I don't believe we'll be double bottoming or retesting this area of liquidity right here because Ethereum is too bullish with the ETF narrative. Okay, so with that in mind, I think this is a very bullish overall picture for this pair, and just depending on however you want to slice this, did this break out a long time ago, or are we bumping up on it right now? Maybe that's a little more likely scenario. Okay. So, if this is the flag, this is going to be your idea here, and my goodness, if that happens, the Bitcoin maxes would just absolutely lose their stuff. That would probably, that seems very unlikely, to be honest. Like the pair flipping Bitcoin that significantly by a full 50% move. But you never know in this market, and I've spoken about this before on the CR Rhinos podcast. Shout out to the CR Rhinos. Love you guys. It's been fantastic hanging out in the lounge. And keep in mind too, disclaimer as always, nothing that's said here is financial advice. Please do your own due diligence and research. Get yourself a financial advisor before jumping into any coin project, investment, or trade. But with BlackRock involved, you never know what they could do to the Ethereum price, because they have more ability to influence the Ethereum price because it doesn't have a fixed supply. So keep that in mind. No fixed supply for Ethereum. There is the burning mechanism, that makes it have a somewhat deflationary aspect, but keep in mind BlackRock can manipulate the price more because it does not have that fixed supply. So if BlackRock wants to, they can push it all the way up here to 1.5 Ethereum per BTC. And I mean, you know, what if Bitcoin hit, 70, 80K and Ethereum was 120K? What would people do? They would absolutely flip out. They wouldn't have any clue what to do. People would be rushing out everywhere to buy Ethereum and invest in the ETF at that level, and they would get absolutely honking wrecked. So, yeah, unlikely scenario, sure, but hey, let's just jump over to the USDT picture real quick. I do have some work on some lower time frames there, so let's ignore that for right now. But when we zero in on the candles, Ethereum is probably in process of printing 3 white soldiers, which is a bullish pattern. So RSI above 50 level, stochastics moving into a position of strength, trying to move into overbought territory. Monthly picture for Ethereum very strong. I'm going to go over a couple other coins that I believe are going to perform in the shorter term here in the larger caps. One is Dogecoin. I did do a special on Dogecoin, but I'm going to emphasize the monthly chart here, as I do believe we've seen somewhat of an Adam and Eve double bottom consolidation in this triangle, and we do have much higher targets. All right, I discussed the $4.20 target on the special for the Dogecoin price targets, but realistically, folks, if we take a full measured move from the previous bottom, we're going up to the area potentially, $23, even $33 per Dogecoin. Can Elon push it that high? Or does it stop at $4.20? Who's not going to take profit at $4.20? If you're holding Dogecoin and it's at $4.20, are you not going to take profit? I'm going to take profit. Anyways, again, not financial advice. One more coin for the monthly close. Sorry, small time frames there for Matic. Let's jump back out to the monthly for Polygon Matic. Here's some of your larger potential targets for the monthly as well as the monthly close picture, and we are starting to print 3 white soldiers for Matic as well. Extremely bullish, negotiating this 200 weekly moving average. Stochastics RSI moving into a position of strength, and the RSI at a 50 level, showing that there's probably a big breakout coming for Polygon Matic. And I may have discussed some potential targets for this on my Adam and Eve video. If you haven't watched the Adam and Eve video, check that out. Adam and Eve video shows you chart patterns that are hugely important. And right now, actually, this is in one of the larger ones in the entire crypto space. And this tells me this coin is going to rip out of this monthly time frame. And it's going to make huge gainers for you. Okay? It's going to make some huge gainers. So we're just going to measure within this triangle, and we'll see what can happen for Polygon. I could take Matic up to $12. I did have a more conservative price prediction in the last video based on the Adam and Eve. Okay. I'll give you the Adam and Eve target right there. Takes you up to the $7 range. Okay, so that's kind of the skinny for the monthly picture here for Bitcoin and a few of the alts, including Ethereum. This should be extremely helpful for you if you are swing trading right now. really, you should have been loading up in these zones. I told people to buy last summer. I don't want to harp on that too much, but my goodness, folks, you had another chance here a few months ago. I know I was loading up, so my Matic is in profit. I have a long open right now that's in profit. I have a long open for Dogecoin that's in profit. I have a long open for Ethereum that's in profit. So, boom. I'm Jason Bruce. This is Crypto Clown World. This has been the monthly close special open for December. Santa Rally. Let's get banging. People, have yourselves a fantastic morning, a better day, and an even freaking better month. Make sure you get your holidays going and have a Merry Christmas. Spend some time with your family coming up here. Love you all. Take care. God bless you. We'll see you soon, all right?